Hi there, I'm Leila Sharon here, and I'm the Minister of Culture, Multiculturalism, and the Status of Women. And I'm with one of my favorite people, Dr. Tyler Cobb, who is the curator of invertebrate zoology at the Royal Alberta Museum. And Dr. Cobb, how are you doing today?
Great, great. Thanks very much for having me on.
Well, as you know, your exhibit is probably one of my most favorite exhibits. I have many critters there that I love. You're going to be showing us a few things. Maybe we'll even hear from a few of your buddies over there, but you have an absolutely fascinating job. You have the Alberta Museum, or sorry, Royal Alberta Museum on its own has several million objects documented throughout there, but you yourself have quite a few specimens, both living and not living. And how many specimens do you have in total there in the bug gallery? Tell us a little bit about the bug gallery.
Sure. Well, I'm the curator of invertebrate zoology. So the number of specimens in the collection, we have two parts to our collection. The reference collection, which is the non-living side, and then we also have the living side in the bug gallery, in the hatchery here. In terms of numbers of specimens, we have about 500,000 specimens in the reference collection. And then as far as the living the living creatures go, we have, well, depends on any given day. It changes quite a bit. We have, several hundred species, but if you count all the really small things, ranges up into the millions.
Oh my goodness. So there's a lot of little things that are running the world there.
Yeah.
And in various developmental forms too, right? Because you have a hatchery, you raise them from larvae and nurture them into some very beautiful specimens. Some of them are quite beautiful. So others are a little bit more creepy crawly. If you like bugs like I do, I find them to be fascinating. So what do you want us to understand from studying invertebrates? What are some of the things that you want us to take away from the work that you do?
Well, you mentioned in your statement there that these are really the little things that run the world. And that's what that really means is they're so important, they're so numerous. And what the bug gallery, the main sort of purpose of the bug gallery is really to celebrate the beauty and the diversity and the importance of all of these little things that thrive usually beneath our notice or without us noticing. If you look at invertebrates, there's more kinds of invertebrates than all other kinds of plants or animals put together. And so, and they do all kinds of important things for us. If you think about some examples like pollination or decomposition, pollination is a great example. Many of the food crops that we depend on are pollinated by insects, particularly bees. And so without them, we'd go hungry. So they're super important, these organisms. Decomposers, these are the things that break down our waste products, our garbage. So you can imagine a world without those creatures doing their job. And so when you're talking about the little things that run the world, you're really talking about invertebrates, and they depend on, or they help keep our ecosystem healthy, and then they themselves require our help as well.
And it's interesting because I think you were telling me one of the beetles that I love that you have there, they're very pretty, the yellow and black ones are the chafer beetles, right? And then you recently also got a rhinoceros beetle. Now, I've seen those in India. They're magnificent creatures. They're a form of dung beetle, right? When we talk about decomposition, can you talk a little bit about those guys? Beautiful. I mean, they're incredible creatures. It's amazing they can fly at all with the massive size that they are.
Yeah, they're extremely heavily armored, and they're long-lived. I don't have one here in the hatchery; they're in the gallery. But yes, you're right. They're a decomposer, really important decomposer. We feed ours a variety of different things, but elephant dung is one of the things that they get in the grub phase. Beetles go through a phase called complete metamorphosis, or the change, like butterflies, and so. The grubs, or the baby beetles, really don't look anything like the adults. They're like a worm, basically, and they spend most of their lives underground feeding on this decomposing matter. And then the big showy adults that we have on display, real heavily armored things. The males have these giant horns that they use to compete with each other with, and to compete for mates. And so, we have some of those on display. And the hatchery is really an important place for us because it helps us keep these things on display year round.
Well, and that education and understanding the respect for these little things that run the world is huge, because quite often they're looked at being a nuisance or frustration, or, you know, people are scared of them. You have a friendly little fellow there that, speaking of male insects that have a lot to show and competing for dominance and for a mate, you have somebody to show us there, as I understand, Buddy.
Yeah, so I brought along a friend. I thought I'll just hold him up to the camera. So if you can see it there.
Huge.
This is the Madagascar hissing cockroach. And like the name suggests, they're from Madagascar. And they're really an amazing animal. One of my favorites here, certainly one of the most popular ones here with the kids. And the males can produce a hissing sound. I don't know if I can get them to do it on cue, but the males produce a hissing, well, all of them actually, not just the males, but they produce a hissing sound by forcing air out through these dots, these things, breathing tubes or spiracles they're called, and actually hiss to scare off predators and also to compete with other males. The males will bump into each other with these horns on the front. You can see these.
Oh, yeah.
So they run just like you'd see in deer and things like that, but they also try to out-hiss each other to try to compete for mates as well.
That would be
a lot of people think of cockroaches as filthy or dirty. They're not at all. In fact, they're super clean. They're constantly secreting wax, and they're always cleaning themselves and preening themselves. They're also not very fast. This species doesn't move a whole lot. It spends most of its days in rotting vegetation, and it's one of those really important things that helps decompose rotting vegetation, rotting food, and so helps to one of nature's great recyclers right here. So
wow,
the really kind of fun thing about this species is it's one of the first ones we ever had on display in the bug gallery. So the culture that we have here in the hatchery is the original culture that we started back in 1993. And it was one of the first species that we put on display. So they're kind of one of my favorites here as well.
So he's a bit of a descendant of the original group of Madagascar bugs, huh?
That's right, and bred in captivity right here in our hatchery.
So kids, if you don't want a hamster,
yeah, they make great pets. They really do make great pets.
That's hysterical. So the purpose of the hatchery, you were speaking about that. Let's wind back to that a little bit. So you obviously have been raising cultures. You were saying since 1993?
That's
You've
correct.
been raising cultures. So what are some of the more fascinating things you learned? Because Dr. Cobb, is this your area of expertise, this particular type of invertebrate, or just generally invertebrates?
No, not really. Just it's hard to be a specialist or an expert on invertebrates. There's so many kinds. And so
okay.
My specialty is really with beetles.
Okay.
Particularly beetles that are associated with forest fires. And my research really focuses on the effects of forest fires and post-fire management activities on the beetles that are responsible for breaking down or decomposing burned trees. So that's really where my research lies. But from an invertebrate, my job here as the invertebrate curator, I'm responsible for all of the invertebrate collection, as well as all the bug-related research that happens here at the museum. The hatchery, as you were talking about here, this is one of three main support labs that we have at the new museum to help us raise and care for these animals. We have a tank support lab. We have several other, we have a rooftop greenhouse to help grow the food for many of the herbivores. And so the hatchery itself really operates as a nursery. And so this is where the teams are usually hard at work caring for all of these animals, all the feeding and cleaning. And it operates as a nursery, so there's always lots of baby invertebrates around. So we're always having announcements on social media and things like that when we have a big hatch. One of the great things about the new museum is this window. It's in front of me, so I can't really show you on camera, but there's a window that leads right into the hatchery from the public side. So everybody that comes to visit the museum can look, when we're open, can come and look into the hatchery and watch what's going on in here. And on any given day, you may find the staff, you know, cleaning habitats or building new habitats or feeding baby tarantulas or baby praying mantises, or you really just never know what you're going to get. And so it's kind of a fun place to hang out. I don't know if you can hear that, but the katydids behind me started singing.
Amazing. And you were saying that those are foreign grasshoppers from the dragon-headed, you were saying, dragon-headed grasshoppers?
Dragon-headed katydids, yep. They're a relative of grasshoppers in the same order. And so they're actually producing that sound. I hope you can hear that.
I can hear it, yeah.
They're producing that sound by rubbing their legs, and it's called stridulation. And lots of insects, especially in the Orthoptera, which means singing wing. That's the grasshoppers and crickets and katydids. Many of those species actually produce sound like that too, for territorial displays and also for attracting a mate. And so much like the hissing cockroach, it's another one of these ones that makes sound.
Oh, that's so cool. And I was going to say, like, right now you were talking about, you know, the many people that come in and clean the habitats and work. So everybody, of course, is working from home right now to a large degree because of COVID, I would imagine. So how are you managing that? And as well as, because you're doing some really great online stuff for kids and families. So how are you managing through COVID?
Yeah, so it's been a challenge for sure. But under normal circumstances, we have a very dedicated team. The live animal care team is the full-time staff that work here to provide the care for all of these animals. And then we're also supported by a very large and enthusiastic group of volunteers that also help us care for these things. And then when COVID hit, we had to move quickly. We weren't able to use this volunteer support group. And so what we did is we quickly established a training program. Many of the other staff here at RAM stepped up to help out. And so we quickly got a training program set up and a schedule set up to get these folks involved in helping care for all of these animals. And it's been impressive, really great to see that kind of support over the museum. In particular, some of the cross-training opportunities, in particular, our marketing officer, Thierry Snow, you know, he stepped up right away and has become a full-time member to help us care for these things. And so it's been great to kind of watch him dive into these new duties and sort of renew his childhood love of these animals and things like that. And so it's been a challenge. It's been stressful at times, but it has also been a great opportunity for team building across the museum. And we're able to still provide the exceptional level of care for all of these animals, even in a situation like this.
It's wonderful to hear how people are adapting, and it just goes to our new normal, right? That you have things that have to get done, and suddenly you end up with all of these allies and groups of people that are so willing to come forward and help out. It actually speaks to the experience, I think, right across the province on so many levels. So that's wonderful to hear. I'm excited to hear after post-COVID when I actually get to come and visit you guys about the experiences and how it was that you adapted and the changes that you made, because you learned so much. I know personally I've learned so much, even having to work from various locations that wouldn't normally be, and having all of our staffs be spread out as well too. So it's been quite the learning process, but good for it. Good and on multiple levels for sure. Well, I wanted to say thank you so much for connecting with us, and hopefully next time we can do this again. You can take us out to the Hive. For those of you who haven't visited the RAM, when it opens again, this is one of the most beautiful places that you have in that area, in my opinion. The Hive is where the social bugs are. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the gallery itself is really, as I said, set up to sort of celebrate the beauty and the diversity of invertebrates. And the Hive, we've sort of set the whole gallery up as this sophisticated art gallery of bugs. So it's a very calm place. It's well lit, and so in the center of the in the center of the gallery is this structure we call the Hive, and it's modeled after a yellow jacket nest. It's a very artistic structure. And in that structure, we have all of the social insects as well. And so at a time like this, it's important to realize that we're never really alone. And the social insects are a good example of that. they're always around us. You're never really far from these creatures any time in your life. So.
Well, and thank you so much, Dr. Cobb, for your time on this, for the love that you share for these creatures that are around us, and for educating all of us about the importance. And I really look forward to keeping in touch with you and seeing. I love watching the hatching days, or the when you do your announcements. Those are amazing. And I think you have also on the other side, you have like live videos of like the turtles and lots of other things going on right now, don't you?
I just want people to realize that even though we're all social distancing now, and you're never really alone. And as spring hits here and you're out taking your walks, take a moment. This is a great opportunity to take some time to notice all the little things that are flying and crawling around, and renew your sense of curiosity. Your kids will show you the way. You can take some time now to just stop and observe things, the little things. And take that time to help renew your own sense of wonder. Let their curiosity help you do that.
Oh, it's wonderful advice. Sold.
Let's say wave bye.